today what we're going to be working on is this beautiful Ingersoll 1930s pocket watch. Now this is a slightly different version than the standard dollar Ingersoll pocket watch because this is a made in Great Britain Triumph version. Yeah, so this watch would have been produced somewhere around 1930. And so this is a friend of mine's father's who had to have carried this every day for many, many years in order to get this amount of wear built up on this, but it gives it a lovely, lovely history. And so, as you can see here, I'm just inspecting the watch. I noticed the crown is a little loose, but the keyless works is moving, and so that's always a really good sign. And again, you can tell he wore this every day for many years based off the way the chrome plating has worn off, showing the brass down below. And my guess is this has probably been serviced before, but it had to have been a long time, as best I can tell. And maybe even just a partial service here. It's pretty gummy there, but I'll look at that. If you have a quick eye there, you could see that the balance wheel is wiggling, and so that's always a good sign that we probably have good pivots there. Alright, so step one here before we take this thing apart is we're going to let down any remaining power on the main spring. Yeah, and again there you can see how slow and sluggish that is. That's just a buildup of oil mixed with a little dirt there, makes it gummy. Alright, and so now we'll start the disassembly, and we're going to take away this first bridge covering the main spring, and we'll take a look at what is there. Okay, yeah, that's not surprising. We could tell that there was some oil there, but overall not too bad because the oil is just on that mainspring. So the rest of the watch looks really clean and in good shape here. So I think we're going to be able to have good luck. And so first thing to do, we need to remove the movement from the case here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And so after we remove these 4 bolts, the movement will drop out of the back of the case here, and then we'll be able to start to dig into this thing a little bit further. And here are my hand pullers, and yes, I did make a little mistake there. I did put a small dent on the dial. I was able to remedy that a little bit later. And next, I had another issue here when removing the seconds hand. The bushing that attaches the pivot to the actual hand is stuck. And I've run into this before, and you have to be very careful not to damage either the dial or break that pivot off. So I'm going to get to that in just a little bit here. Now what I'm going to do is remove the movement from the case. And so all these are just a little bit different, so I do struggle with this until we, there it is. Get that out. Very good. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is take off this dial. Now, there's no screws that hold these on. It's these little bent fingers that attach on there, and I like this system quite nice. You do run into issues if you take them on and off a lot. I try to bend them as little as possible. That way they don't break off because again, this brass is close to 100 years old already. There we go, that should do it. That looks very nice under there. Okay, so we have our minute wheel, spacer, everything's looking good. Alright, so step by step here, I'm going to remove this dial washer, followed by the minute wheel. Very good. Okay, and I'm inspecting the keyless works here. We saw that it did move the hand earlier, but we didn't know for sure if it would move the hour hand, but it looks like everything's going to be fine. That was due to the hour hand being broken that you saw earlier here. So I'm just doing just a general inspection to see what else is going on. So after removing the top plate here, I'm removing firstly that keyless works, checking that spring. Now I'm going to leave that spring in there, and so I'll take away there the third wheel, and followed by the pallet fork, the escapement wheel, and that fourth wheel, if you'll remember, is stuck, and we've got our second wheel there also. Now I don't take off that second wheel because I've had issues in the past where when you remove that small spur gear that you can damage it, and so what I'm doing now is I'm going to really carefully try to find a way to pry that off. Now I found that just using a steady thin set of pliers I was able to get under that bushing, and then with the force of me pushing into the movement, it gradually pulled off that bushing, and that allowed that wheel to fall down there. So that was perfect. Okay. Very good. Now here's the tricky bit. This is probably the most delicate portion of the watch here, and this is going to be our balance wheel and our balance spring. It's thin as a hair, very easily to get damaged, and they're very difficult to find replacements for. If you know where to find them, please leave a comment below. And so what I have to do is thread this really fine spring through the idler adjuster, and also from the mounting point. And you saw that little needle there that I pushed out, and that's holding that in place. And so I'm going to remove that now. Very good, and it's in very good shape as well. Unkinked, undamaged, looks great. So up next is part 2, where we're going to clean and assemble the watch, and there's a small preview of the details we'll get into. So thanks again for watching the video. Send any service inquiries to bmb.p.s@outlook.com.